Here we are at fence 18. It's an A-B combination. So the first element is this big wide oxer that we have here on the right. And then the riders will have to make a choice. The direct route is the skinny B element that we see over here. And we see Italian rider Stella Benedetti walking with her coach. The slower option would be to come around the palm tree and jump the wider part of the B element. And so we were just overhearing some coaching over here, and Stella's coach is advocating for a straight line to the B element in about 5 strides. So maybe we'll check it out tomorrow and see what Stella chooses to do. Here we are at fence 19. So this is, I guess it's not quite as big as an elephant trap and not as small as a tiger trap. So it's a sort of medium-sized game trap. It comes after the turning question at 18 and before a rather technical question that we'll see in a moment at 21. There's 19 and then 20 you can sort of see as a brush jump. So again, it's a relatively straightforward fence. It's a little bit of a let-up before the horses tackle a little bit more, some more technical elements. This is fence 20. It's called Le Burley, which is actually pretty appropriate since we saw a couple of these types of fences on the Burley course earlier this year. So it's a ditch and brush, and the ditch is quite wide, but nowhere near as wide as some of the ditches that we saw at Burley earlier this year. I suspect it should jump well, and the horses will then come around to the second water on the course. It's the second of 3 waters at fences 21A and B, and so we're going to go take a closer look at those. Here at fence 21, once again, it's a bit of a pick your own adventure because we've got a couple of options. So by far the quickest route is going to be on the left here. There's 2 little cabins. So 21 will be a drop down, a small drop down into water. And one thing to note too is that the water is really not very deep. I don't know if they plan to fill it up a little bit more before tomorrow morning, but it's really not very deep at the moment, a couple of inches really. So they'll drop down over 21 and go directly to the skinny cabin in B. So it's a little bit of a turning line. It will require a fair deal of accuracy. And then they'll gallop out of the water off towards the middle of the race course. The other option that some riders may pick is the 21A, which is on the corner here. So it's a considerably larger fence. It's an upside down boat. And then if they're going to choose the other boat upside down, which is the other B element, they're going to have to come all the way around. And there's some strategically placed rope that you can see that will prevent anybody from trying to cut that corner and save themselves some time. So they will have to jump towards us again and then gallop around the whole complex before getting back out the right way. We're here at fence 22. Fence 22 is a fairly large log oxer. It doesn't look that imposing from here, but I think it's because you can't quite see the width of it. It's actually quite wide, and I took a picture that we'll put up so that you can see the width of it. But it's a relatively straightforward fence apart from the size of it, and then the horses will gallop off towards the ramped vertical that's off in the distance that we're going to go take a closer look at. Here we are at fence 23. It's the Le Moutardon. And the interesting thing about this fence is that it's right in the middle of the racehorse training track. And you can still see some of the horses are warming up this morning. And off to the right, you can see the steeplechase hedge fences that they use to train those horses. Looks like they haven't incorporated any of those fences into the 4-star, but I thought that would have been kind of neat. But here, the fence 23 is just a relatively simple ramped fence, and the ground sort of drops up a little behind the fence, but other than that, it's a pretty simple, straightforward fence, and the horses will then gallop on to 24, the farmyard, which is a combination. Here we are at fence 24. It's an A-B combination. It's called La Cour de Ferme, which translates to the farmyard. So it's a bit of a question in terms of what the riders will choose to do with their lines. The fences are offset a little bit, so there's a more direct approach, and then there's a little bit of a bending. But obviously there isn't a lot of space between the fences, but the riders will have to be careful to carefully choose their line. The other sort of interesting thing about this fence is that, as you can see in the background, there's all the stable yards. So there's no horses in this row, but there are horses on the other rows. So I don't know if they're going to plan to move them for Saturday or whether the race horses are just going to stand patiently and watch all these horses run by, but I'll be curious to see what they do about that. Fence 25, it comes after the barnyard fences that we just saw, which was a combination. So again, it's a bit of a let-up fence, and it'll be followed shortly thereafter, and you can actually almost see it off in the distance of the final water jump, which is an A, B, C, D element. So it's a lot that happens quite quickly. So this is a nice let-up fence. It's called Le Jardin à la Française, which translates to French-style garden, more or less. And it shouldn't be too surprising for the horses. It's going to be quite bright in the sun, so it they may sort of take a second look at it, but otherwise it should be fine. It should jump well.